Welcome to the School of Orisha Studies. Today is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, and this is our Odu study group. Today we are going to start with our Odu of the year, which is IworiMeji. We're going to take our first dive. Aburo, Aboye, Aboshishe, Bobo Awo, and Kalio to all of you. Iba, Olodumare, Oba, Terekaye, Iba Tiojo, Iba Tiworum, Iba Ilio Gere, Fogeri, Iba Ikba, Irumlea Jokotum, Iba Ikba, Irumlea Jokosi, Iba Okali ni Irumile, Iba Urumila, Eledi Pin, Iba Kada, Iba Shada, Iba Gideon Lando, Iba Rapalo Tuife, Iba Rogalade Wo, Iba Pepino de Asi, Iba Agangana Wode, Iba Iba Superbuta Wode Remo, Iba Rela Wode Jebu, Iba Takamose Wode Jessa, Iba Roga Wo Shoko, Iba Kedekebo Oyo, Iba Ashekba Wekba, Iba Gadekbia Woda Hami, Iba Bokbo Pata Pata, Ifaba washe ki olodo manekoba washe. Iba egungun ile wa iba ori baba iba ori yeye iba ori obubo odoye oba femori unwa iba ori ojubona iba ori inu iba ori ode. Today we are grateful to Olodumare. We give reverence to you. We give reverence to you. You are the one who is the king with no rivals. You are the one with the immeasurable mat. Your glories are endless. We honor you, Baba. We give honor today for the day that we had so many blessings meet us today. We woke up today. We are in our right mind. We have the movement of our limbs. We are grateful for the sun rising. We are grateful for the setting sun. We are grateful for the consistency of the sun. We give honor and thanks to Mother Earth, the one who uses the rake as a calm, the one who continues to sustain us, provide for us. We are so grateful for all of the resources that are here in the marketplace. We are mindful to not squander the blessings that we have here. We are grateful for the Romale on the left and the right of Olodumare, the ones who shuttle back and forth from the seen and unseen realm. We give thanks to you. We give honor today to Orumila, the one who is the witness of our faith, the mender, the repairer of our destiny. We give thanks for the message of the Holy Ondu IworiMeji. We pray that our hearts and minds are open today to receive those messages and to accept and apply their wisdom to our lives this year. We give thanks and we ask that you show us the ways, show us the verses that will make the most impact on what we do and the goals that we have chosen for this coming year. We give honor and thanks to our Kodai and our Shedai. And we give thanks to each and every custodian of the tradition. We honor our ancestors in our paternal and maternal lineage. We honor the names of the ones that we know, the names that we do not know. We honor your brilliance. We honor your sacrifice, your sacrifice in living, your sacrifice in dying. We honor and reverence you for the lives that we live today because of the things that you saw fit to seed for us, to plan for us. Let us not squander the blessings that you left for us. Let us also be mindful of what we do today and how it affects the children in our lineage, their children and their children and their children. Ashe. We give honor and thanks to the orders of our fathers and our mothers. And we give honor and thanks to their Ashe. We give honor and reverence to the Ori of our Aluwa, Oloye, Obafemi, We pray that all of the things that you chose in heaven that your Ori will accept and will that they will manifest for you, things that are favorable for you, things that will continue to enrich your life, things that would better you. We ask that your Ori continues to support you the same way the stars back the moon, and that wherever things are favorable for you, that your Ori will take you there. Ashe. We give thanks to each and every Ori in the School of Orisha Studies in Oturupon Wonnifa. I pray that our Ori continues to envision the things that will grow us, envision the things that would align us with wealth, align us with the resources that we need, relationship assets, financial assets, good health, and that our Ori will continue to reach out and touch 200. Ori, we ask that you do not depart for us, and we acknowledge you as the one who is supreme. We acknowledge you as the one who accepts and the one who rejects, and we ask that you continue to accept the things that we chose in the prenatal state. We give honor today to Obatala. We honor you today for being the one who wakes in white, who sleeps in white and awakes in white. We honor you today and ask that the same way that you are able to pronounce your judgment without anger, that in this season of IworiMeji, that you help us to judge in the way that you do, that you help us to hear both sides of the story so that we follow your example of wisdom and we follow your example of counsel. We ask that we have wisdom during this season to not to be not to have to always be first, not to be overly ambitious, but to do things in a measured way that will grow us as a community, that will grow us collectively and also individually. We thank you, Baba, for all of the ways in which you guide us and the ways in which you walk with us, not just today, but we ask that you continue to walk with us throughout this year. Today, I offer this prayer as a symbol of our gratitude, a symbol of our appreciation for what has been done and for the blessings that are to come. And we promise that should we continue to be supported throughout this year, should we continue to be supported in our community, that each and every day will be a renewing and a resetting and a reactivation of our commitment to our devotion, our commitment to our practice. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Wow. So now I'm going to hand it to Baba Aloye to take us deeper into IworiMeji. Abura Aboye, Baba.
Aboye Aboshisheo. Eku ọdún o.
Ashe, Asamodon.
Happy New Year to everyone. I want to change my view here. Yeah. It's it's always a supreme pleasure and honor, to share space with so many good people. But this one, everything was just not just one cut above, it was like two cuts above. There was a lot of very, very, very fluid, smooth running operations, all the things that people were saying before we started to record. Hey, we got to pause. We got to record this. But there's so much growth and so much progress. And I really just want to keep the conversation going along those lines because one of my highlights anyway, was the fact that people's families were present in abundance and very comfortable. At least, by my experience and observation of, the children and the wives, etc. Whoever it was, the children, older children, people came in different ways. But, I had a friend who worked in construction. And he said there's a particular sound of a construction site, and if it's humming at this particular sound, everything is good. But then when things are out of whack, you start hearing other sounds. It's the same on the playground. There's certain sounds. There's going to be certain kinds of screeches and screams and laughter and stuff like that. And likewise, it's similar within a ceremony. Odun. These 3-4 days of ritual and ceremony are very, very, very demanding. They're very, very, very demanding. And by the time you finish, you feel so tapped out that you have to wonder, you know, did I run a marathon or what? Why am I doing this? Was it supposed to be rejuvenating? I thought I was going to be, up on my feet and ready to take on the world after this. I'm so exhausted. But it's in that exhaustion, though, that I think you really settle in and relax. And I think that because of one, one of the small lessons I learned from doing yoga was that, we do all the postures so that we can meditate. And the meditation is the actual yoga, and I found that very surprising. But it makes sense because it's in the meditation that you've essentially stopped your thinking mind from directing traffic, right? But knowing that the things that you do to condition yourself prepare you for the actual connection is, I think, what's important for us with doing our basic rituals and also doing our elaborate, 3, 4 day ceremonies. Getting to this place of direct connection is really the point. You know, and so for everybody who was here directly, we had, our own experience of it. And within that experience, there are layers and levels. And the last thing I want to say is that on a very fundamental level, it's so precious that we have the opportunity to pause and fully acknowledge the scope of our experience. Right? Before we, go into it so far, we're operating on a lot of levels. Simultaneously, continuously, from remote locations. Right? It's almost a circus, you know? It's almost a theater company or a dance company or a folkloric group or maybe a huge band. Down here in Atlanta, they got the huge high school bands. And in that expression, we have the small children, the elders, people who just got introduced yesterday, people who have been doing it for 10 years, people with different educational experience, work experience. It's a very, very, very diverse group of people. We're doing a lot of things. It's a supreme honor to be able to do all of these things simultaneously together with these people. I know I said that was the last thing I was going to say, but the other last thing I want to say is that these people are like really high caliber people. These are high quality people. These are, you know what I mean? I used to teach Upward Bound, right? I used to teach high school first. And it was high school, it was my high school. Just average children. Then I did Upward Bound. And Upward Bound was, so let's say in the class of 30, you got one or two who's really dialed in academically. The rest are doing whatever. In every high school, you got a few sprinklings like that. They pull them all together to go to Upward Bound. I taught Upward Bound, and it was the same group of students, but they were so high powered. We got so much done so much faster. I'm saying that to say that I know what it's like to be among high performing people. That being said, let's focus our highlights on where we just came from in terms of just before we got to IworiMeji, Ogbeyonu. Ogbeyonu. What's the significance of Ogbeyonu to IworiMeji? Tell me. Imodoye.
Boye, Oreye, Yeo, Eku, Ojo, say, everyone. Um, what, Ogbe only talks about patience, and IworiMeji talks about, no, not, no, being the third, not trying to be the first, not being second, not being third, weighing, both sides before looking at it. So, it's, IworiMeji, when Ogbe only talks about patience, IworiMeji talks about and even well observance of kind of checking ambition and really focusing on your lane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's sure. Okay. Thank you, sir. Odugbemi.
Aburaboye Baba.
Boy, so
Love this question because I can't shut up about it.
mm,
Um, Another connection, both Oduifa are speaking about judgment. And I also echo everything that Awasheda said. The patience, I see the patience in Obeyono, Obesuru. Um, Literally, we were being advised to be patient, but when I hearing both sides of an argument, of a story, of anything before making a judgment, and not necessarily judging the person, but making a decision, that's what judgment as well. But hearing both sides requires that I have to have patience. So the continuance of patience through both of those things, both of the Odu, is just, yeah, very excited.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The continuity. I like the way you describe the continuity. Jegbe, Ekaleo.
Yeah, Kale. Really for me, I guess in a word, Ogbeyanu is about the patience needed to preserve like high quality character, and the IworiMeji seems to be about the atmosphere in which like that character manifests into blessings. Yeah, to put it in a word.
Mm-hmm. And if you would, Jack, but when you say that the atmosphere, say a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, for instance, like Alatakun, um, the spider finds his natural avocation. You know what I mean? He finds the thing that makes even his like, tiny form, this miracle working thing. Um, I think there's other verses in IworiMeji that kind of talk about the way that blessings are supposed to manifest. Like, on the negative, the Orumila Zakapo didn't put himself in the um, natural environment for his blessings to manifest, but it's still that manifestation and following the natural order, that IworiMeji is speaking of. So,
Hmm. Hmm. I understand. Yep. Yep. His environment was key. Right place, wrong time, something like that. Thank you, sir. Awolowo. Aboro aboye.
Boya Aboshishe Alatunche. So I was seeing the connection from man, I was seeing so many different connections, but I'm gonna try to put them together succinctly.
Mm-hmm.
So I was seeing the connection from a built-in appeasement for Ogbeyanu, and Ogbeyanu also telling us of patience. And with patience, I know that for me, I'm able to see things more clearly. It represents calming and coolness to me. And that in the feature story we had Afu Wape that went to consult with his father, who is Ifa. So by following the wisdom of Ifa and having that patience, then I'm able to move into Iwuri. I'm able to see the strategy that I need to play. I need to see my position so that I'm able to position myself in the most advantageous way in the marketplace. And there was an when Brother Jegbe was talking about Alantan Kung, that connection where the spider has everything that it needs within inside of itself, and we were told to appease our Ori moving into this new Odu, and that is that value that is inside of ourselves that we bring to IEA to provide to those that we're destined to serve. Man, there were so many good things said earlier. I was trying to stay focused on what it was.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. On my end, it started to fade out at the end. But thank you very much, sir. Those are I've forgotten how can I say this, but I wasn't even thinking about Afwakwe in Ogbeyonu, which is exceptional because that's like iconic of Ogbeyonu. But this Eledi Moro was an eye opener. It's like I had never heard that verse. No, I had not heard it in a long time. If I quoted it, good evening, sir. Oh, Jill.
Oh, Aboroboye, Abosise.
I boy, I told.
Yeah, I was thinking along the same lines of that verse of Okbeyonu with Lady Moro,
Mm,
how it was telling us to be consistent with spraying Ifa with the Omi and Ati mixture every day.
mm-hmm,
And then we come to Iwori Meji.
mm-hmm,
And Iwori Meji is telling us that Ifa is we should be paying way, like giving Ifa all of our attention and going to Ifa often
Mm-hmm.
for what we want. Like tell them everything, like what's on our mind, what we feeling, if we feeling bad, we feeling good, and just whatever it is that we are planning for this year, the goals that we making, give it to E5 because this is the year of the miracle.
True indeed. True indeed. Ogbeyonu was conditioning us with the activity. Give the omi and tea mixture every day because boom, Romila's about to have you on the mat facing the E King every day, constantly for everything. That's a great insight. You know, that's a good insight. Excuse me. That's a very good insight. I'm gonna make note of that for myself. Yeah, go to Ifa. Go to Ifa. And okay, no, I'm not gonna take that turn. We're at 8:31. Um, so when I was thinking about that transition, I really had many identical perspectives that you just described. So that's reassuring, and it gives us a point of departure to now look into or enter into the plan, the framework, and the interactive atmosphere that is IworiMeji. So we cast Ifa on Saturday, and it was Falua Day, more specifically, who cast Ifa. And the Odu that appeared was IworiMeji. That's Iwori on both sides, both legs, Iwori. And the orientation of the Odu is Ire, which is positive. Ifa says he sees Ire for our community this year. So we give thanks. Ifa says that the manifestation of our blessing is going to be Aje, wealth, prosperity, money. That implies again atmosphere, because Aje, one of her most essential attributes is the atmosphere has to be a certain way, right? And the atmosphere has to be tranquil. It has to be neat. It has to be clean. Those are the things that she requires if she's going to be hanging out. If she's going to enter, it has to be like that. So when we see Ire, it implies that we're doing. Can you hear me? Okay. It implies that you're going to be doing things um, in a pristine kind of a way, which then again would naturally take you into Ashun's territories because she is the standard bearer. If you want to know it's done properly to the highest level with precision, accuracy, and efficacy, it should comply with Ashun's vision and perspective, which is the eyes are so important with IworiMeji. Vision, you see that in many of the verses, and the one we do, IworiMeji, Sijure wo mi, put your eyes on me, put your eyes on me. So we need for our eyes to be keen and seeing things precise and high quality so that it's inviting and conducive to Ajay. Our observances, which will help us to do that, include not being judgmental. That's an observance for us this year, to not be judgmental. To not kill spiders. It is forbidden to kill spiders. It is also forbidden to steal or appropriate things. And lastly, it is taboo to be over ambitious. And, there's more atmosphere or context for each of those taboos, but that's what we have. Our symbol for this year is the new moon. It's the new moon. Very significant because the new moon signifies inner vision. So where IworiMeji is envisioning, is synonymous with IworiMeji's domain. Inner vision is definitely in the wheelhouse, if you will, of the new moon. You with me? So vision, atmosphere, inner vision, they all align. You can, put those together for yourself to help you remember, right? So we could be talking about it within, context with one another, because this is going to frame up things for the next 12 months. And as it were, there are two akoshe. For people who don't know, akoshe is what we loosely refer to as medicine. But I think remedies is something I'm growing more comfortable with. Spiritual remedies is what I would call it generally. But there are two. One of them is a protective akoshe that protects you against negative spiritual forces, and the other is like, a performance enhancer, I guess is what we would call it, but it's to promote and enable high performance, in whatever you do, to be able to do things like magic, like the spider did. So those are the two. Here's the thing about these akoshe though. We have to calibrate them to each individual. So if you want this akoshe, it's like we have to take your measurements, right? You would submit your name and information. We would ask Ifa, will this person take powder or will they take soap? Okay, Ifa says this person is going to take powder. Are they going to take the powder with water or are they going to take the powder with gin? Right? So this one is very particular. You have to go through and make sure that the medium through which you take the akoshe fits you. Y'all with me? So we'll develop that. Shouldn't be too complicated. We'll figure out how to, make that happen. Communicate to folks. With the expectation that this akoshe would come back with me from Nigeria in January. Yeah. So that is an FYI. All of that together, from the akoshe to the symbol to the relationship between IworiMeji and Ogbeyonu, all sets the stage for us to learn a lesson in a very classic Ifa fashion. This is a story of it's so easy to understand, wherein Akapo falsely accuses Oromila. And the scenario, I think we know that Akapo means that's the apprentice, the disciple, right? But I want to go a little bit more with the atmosphere, the context. For what do we mean when we say that you are an apprentice in the Ifa context? If you are an apprentice, it means that maybe at age 8, 10, 12, you left your family house and you went to go live with your Oluo. And you supported your Oluo's work from the ground up. That was you didn't even necessarily go to school. This was your life, right? And you've done this for years, right? That's what it means to be a capo Oromila, right? So what has happened? Akapo has been living with Oromila and supporting Oromila's work for a long time. And he's observed that oftentimes when they call for a sacrifice, they don't ask to slaughter the animal. They just want the feathers. They just want a little fur. And so there might be animals running around the yard. So Akapo gets to the stage where he wants to go and consult Ifa. But when it comes time to make the sacrifice, Akapo wouldn't go and buy his own birds. He would grab one of the birds from out of the yard. And he would offer that as a sacrifice. So once it's a pigeon, another time it's a chicken, another time it's a guinea fowl, another time it's a rooster. Akapo is wondering, how come there's no manifestation of the blessings? If I talked about this, if I talked about that, Akapo's not seeing any of it. So Akapo gets the bright idea that Oromila is actually not doing his sacrifices. And Akapo convinced himself that this was so much the case that he decided he was just going to escalate the whole situation and go straight to Olodumare with his case. And he did. Akapo went straight to Olodumare. He told Olodumare, aha, Kabiesi, this Oromila is there. He's not doing the job that you sent him to do. He's not making sacrifice for people. He's not, he didn't make my sacrifice. Whoa. Olodumare, that's an extreme contradiction. How could Oromila not be making sacrifice for Akapo? This is the one thing that I sent Oromila to do. Make sacrifice. And who would know better than Akapo? Because Akapo lives with Oromila. He's a believable character. Olodumare is very, 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 very upset. And he summoned Oromila in an angry tone. Oromila, you come to my palace. Immediately. But as it turned out, it was Oseifa, and Oromila was casted, and he saw IworiMeji. They said, Oromila, sacrifice against false accusation. Of course, Oromila complied. He made his sacrifice. Then he reported to Olodumare. When he got there, Olodumare asked him, Oromila, what's going on? Why didn't you complete Akapo sacrifice. Oh, Mabinu Baba. I'm sorry, don't be angry. That's not what happened. I completed all of the sacrifices for Akapo. But when it came time for Akapo's order to come to retrieve the blessings, Akapo's order never showed up. It was all other people already who came. They took the wealth, they took the spouse, they took the house, they took the victory. Akapo's order just never showed up. So now Olodumare realizes something is not as it has been presented. Akapo, tell us what you need to tell us. Akapo confesses. Actually, those weren't my animals. I got them from the yard. And so Olodumare just drew a boundary right there. So from now on, people can no longer just come directly from heaven to earth to talk to me. From now on, if you want to talk to me, you talk to a Romila. Number two, no one who is referred to as an elder will pronounce judgment without listening to all sides of the story. So says IworiMeji. And Ifa tells us that in this time, we will be presented with ample opportunities to miss the mark. Right? We're going to have ample opportunities to miss the mark. Right? Not to be embroiled in warfare, and under siege, but miss the mark. Right? That's one of the principal lessons that we learned in this particular verse. You don't want to miss the mark. You want to hit your target. But what's going to happen will give you so many. You're going to get like Obeyono. You're going to be invited to be impatient. You're going to be provoked. IworiMeji here. You're going to be invited to be looking at the wrong thing. Right? Akapo was off center. But we have to keep going with atmosphere, because it's one thing for us to be able to say that there's a discrepancy between what Akapo is doing and what Akapo is saying. Right? It's convenient for us to say that Akapo is being deceptive. It's obvious that Akapo is not following the rules for one reason or another. Right? But that's obvious. Are you with me? We got to also look at where is Akapo when this is happening. What's the context? What's the environment for where Akapo is doing this? What's the basic assumption of why Akapo is motivated to be doing this? What's in it for a couple? Yes, Imodoye.
Or I guess the answer where a couple is doing it, he's doing it in the room of his house. I mean, granted, taking the definition that you gave of a couple, and he's probably, I imagine he's, trying to make a way for himself. So, he's, trying to, do what he can to get ahead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. On a certain level, it's probable a couple is grinding. He's hustling. Mm-hmm. Fafemi, Ekaleo.
Oh, I agree. I think that he is hustling, and I also think the Akapo is coming from a place of need because of the things that he's asking for. It's inferred that he was asking for a spouse and probably some other things to help him support that spouse. But just for the simple fact that dude is he grabbing somebody else, he being lazy, or he just don't have the funds to get his own offering, so he secondhanded somebody else's stuff. So he
Mm-hmm.
cutting corners in a sense.
Mm-hmm. 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 He cutting corners at the end of the day. Omiola, Ekaleo,
Hey, Kaleo Boye.
Boato.
I think on some level, a capo thinks that he is like being a hero. Like, oh, I'm going to expose Orumila, and um, people will be so grateful because I've unveiled this wrongdoing that Orumila is doing. And and some of us like, yeah, people will be so grateful to me because I've uncovered it, I've hacked it.
Yeah, that is that's classic. Ajapa, the tortoise. All of his stories are like that. He'll be doing the most extra thing, and it's so extremely wrong, but it's gonna get him attention, and he thinks he's being a hero. And it's always tragic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sheyi at Kaleo
Oh, Aboreboye Aboshishe,
Agboato.
Ekuoduno to the massive as well.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's interesting, and I'm just digging into it. So context there, right? Um, and that's a few points were already touched on, in a sense of cutting corners, the scarcity mindset, which goes hand in hand with like the keeping of a tranquil and orderly space. Like cleanliness isn't just next to godliness, it's also next to abundance, right? And so like the vibe that I'm getting so far as I'm, like 35% into the study guide, um, is one of somebody who's like it's aspirational. And so like he's trying to get to a certain spot. And I don't I like to in line with the exercise of like looking at these like scenes from a movie and not wanting to automatically villainize somebody, but looking at it from the perspective of, you know, I guess is he the main character? I don't know, a couple, but the thing is,
mm-hmm.
it's like, he's
It's,
trying to come up, and so at a certain level, like okay, playing Akapo's advocate because there's no devil in this tradition. Um, like,
right.
did he think that he was being innovative? It's like, yeah, cool. I got maybe this was my blessings. I have this bird in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
It's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, of course, he's going to, not sort of piggybacking, like think he's a hero. It's like, no, I did what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
He said I was supposed to sacrifice. Did he stipulate, did Elodumare stipulate that I had to go to the market to buy a bird?
Mm-hmm.
No. I was just told I needed to provide 2 pigeons. Oh, well, it's a pigeon in my tree.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blessing. It's right here. So of course, when the blessings aren't coming, it's like, oh, well, part of the process is you got to pay the cost to be the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's part of it. It's like, well, I'm already struggling. Like you're supposed to bless me with the bread. I don't have a lot already. Why am I supposed to go and spend it? And it's easy just thinking about myself in many past situations. Like, hey, like I have $50, and you're asking me to make a $47 investment.
Mm.
God would put me in that situation. That ain't. And so, like leaving room for the humanity in the story, right? Because like I can't speak for everybody, but using I statements, yeah, man, like I've definitely done things that I thought were working with what I had, only to learn better later and find that I actually was cutting corners.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that's why that didn't work out for me. But it's a fun little story, man.
Mm-hmm. You know, I really appreciate the way you presented that. It just took me back to this supreme lesson, like one of my first lessons at Howard University was it created a kind of a split in my thinking for those reasons, because the way things were designed, it was very inefficient, and so you had to know how to go under and around to do things. It wasn't just straight up. And we had to write an essay for my freshman English class, and the professor asked, "What's like your first lesson?" And I said that was my first lesson basically. And oh man, she ate me alive, in in front of the whole class and everything, which was not uncommon there. But it was a significant, like, I agreed with what she was saying fundamentally. You know, I was talking about basically, cutting corners. But because it was practical, it was like I gotta register. I gotta get housing. I gotta get this money for my financial aid. Like, so I can't call that a bad thing, right? It's relative. It's very relative. But we live and learn. Thank you very much. Our good sister Donna, Ekaleo, Ekuo Duo.
I see a couple, and I was thinking of him being a student and, like you said, cutting corners, taking a shortcut. And I see him like having to turn in a paper and he plagiarizes it. It's like, you know what? I don't have all my stuff together. I'm gonna just take this over here and see if I can pass this exam or something. So I looked at it as a student plagiarizing a paper and him taking his shortcuts.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I can see it. I can see it. Thank you very much. Fakore De is this is your hand coming back up, yes?
Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, Baba. So my take on it is the question was where is he coming from or where is he at
Mm-hmm.
type thing. And so like you was explaining the couple in your Aruba standards, they go leave a folks house at around the age 4 or 5 years old. So so he's been there for a while, obviously, because now he's wanting to, branch out and do his own thing. So my take on it is he ain't been paying attention these all these years.
You should
You
have known
know,
better.
because he been seeing he been seeing Arumala doing these these dafas and people going to get all their elbow materials, and the ones that don't get killed, I'm Arumala ain't just doing stuff and not telling him what's going on. So when it's time for him to make his elbow, he wasn't paying attention. He was like, "I'm gonna just use these chickens," but he didn't. He didn't pay attention to what was going on. So he went and took those birds, and he didn't even realize that his blessings didn't manifest because he used somebody else's elbow. He didn't go out and get his own elbow. So I just think, all those years he was his mind was somewhere else. He may want to go outside and play. He may have been missing his family or whatever it was, but he wasn't paying attention. And then when he go to sit on the mat, he didn't go get his own elbow. And just out of not being a student, not studying up under his teacher and knowing what to do and what not to do.
True indeed. True indeed. True indeed. If Akapo is right there, he's got exposure. He's definitely got exposure. He's definitely got exposure. That is a really profound reality. Very, very important. Thank you, good brother. It's show. Baba Ifadara, Aboru Aboye.
Ovato Suriwori Wofon.
Oh,
How are you, Lord? Yay.
let's
I'm
get better.
all right. I'm gonna piggyback off of for Cora Day. You
Mm,
know, one of the lessons that just jumped out at me is, you know, Ifa says that it's hard to find a truthful Babalawo. You could go all over the world before you meet a truthful one. And so in my being naive when I first started learning about the Risha lifestyle, I put those Babalaos and priestesses on a pedestal. I held them in such high esteem because I was naive. I thought that everybody was doing, what they were supposed to do. And so, just like a capo, a capo was doing the most. And this story just shows us that when you find a good place, a good babalao, you need to stick with that babalao because everybody, you have more capos out there and ajapas than you have true disciples of Romila. You know, um, that's the thing that's jumping out at me from this verse. You know, it's not just, the Babalaos, they were capos at one time. And so I think it's Ejiobe that says, what we do in our youth will persist to old age. And so, that behavior started early on and maybe it just wasn't checked.
mm-hmm,
And so later on in life he was still had those same ways. And when that happens, when we're in those responsible positions,
mm-hmm,
we have the ability to really destroy other people's lives, not intentionally, even just in not being as thorough as we should be, you know.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what was jumping out at me just now.
Mm. Yeah, that's the voice of eldership, right? Because we do have to. They used to say they will always say it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a circle of elders to make a village. And so if if we if somebody is not willing to say, okay, I'm one of the elders, you know what I mean, then we're not going to raise no children. And that means we have to assess things and look at them from the perspective that you were just describing. Um, if things aren't happening with Akapo, he's not learning. He's able to be around Oromila that long and not learn. Um, Oromila also would would have to examine his his educational system, to figure out, okay, um, why isn't Akapo hip to what's going on, right? How is it possible that Akapo is close enough to do this and not know you're supposed to do that? You know, um, um, so if all of those things are happening, simultaneously and 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 transparently, then we can all be comparing notes. You know what I mean, and working together to create a certain kind of an experience, create certain kinds of an outcome. Do you understand what I just said?
Danny.
Somebody help me out. Summarize what I mean, so I can just make sure we're all on the same page.
May I?
Please.
Okay. Yeah. Whew, if I'm hearing it right, which might be controversial to some, that when the children behave like children, the adults need to behave like adults, right? In the same way that there is the personal responsibility for Akapo, which obviously he's sort of the main character in a sense in the story. Well, as the elder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, been around this block a bit longer than the young buck has, so I gotta assess like what environment have I created for them such that they were even in a position to be able to shoot themselves in the foot like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Did I
Yep.
get it?
I'm 100%.
Okay.
100%. Thank you. Uh, I think that piece of it is also okay. When we go back out kind of in a philosophical way, that principle of the fallibility of the elders and the divinities, yeah, it's built into the system. Um, so that being said, um, in which ways, can you see that you are the Akapo, and in which ways you are Oromila? Right? Life is seldom all of one and not the other. Can you see the scenario in which right now you are Akapo, and can you see also where you are Oromila? Akapo belongs to you, and there's something Akapo is not doing the way it ought to be done because you have not taught Akapo how to do that. And Akapo is a space cadet. I gotta tase him to get his attention for more than 30 minutes at a time. So there's that. Both things can be true at the same time. So tell us, who can see that where you are both Oromila and Akapo? Our good brother Fafemi and Kaleo.
Oh, I got a very simple example.
Mm,
So I see myself being a capo in the sense that for my place of employment, I got to submit a timesheet. And it'll be very easy if I just log my time every day.
Mm.
But what I do as a capo is I'll wait till the last, the day of where we got to submit the time, and I'd be up for hours going through my history on Chrome, going through my emails, trying to justify what I did to report my time.
Mm.
And in the same sense, I am Orumila because hey, I am the one that is the head here. You know what I'm saying? Like I am the one who is writing out my schedule. I dictate all of my daily activities, and I can tell myself, hey, at the end of every workday, you
Do
need
this.
to input your time. But like you said, the little space cadet comp, I'm just like, man, I'm trying to close the laptop and be gone. And lo and behold, a week and a half later, I'm up to 2 in the morning, scattering, trying to finish my time sheet.
Mm-hmm. 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 Imodoye.
Um, I'm looking at kind of generally. Like I could see myself as a capo when I'm not putting in the work, or I haven't put in the work. I failed to put in the work, to get to where I want to be. You know, I guess, and say spiritually. You know what I'm saying? So like, I may not be making whatever personal sacrifices I need to be to get to where, you know, is that I'll be, in like have the spiritual clarity, where I spiritually needs to be, where I spiritually need to be, and I'm kind of looking at other people's work and what they've done and thinking I ought to be there, but I haven't put I haven't I've may have whatever I may have witnessed them. I may have, but I haven't put in that personal sacrifice that I need to put in. Where they've already done their work, and may be able to see it, look at it, but I haven't done that,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be a rumor in. I mean, again, like a general, um, um, in a general way, and when people uh respond to me in a way that I don't that I think is off. It could be very well that I'm not really creating the environment to get that response that I want. So I'm not setting the parameters, or I'm not setting the stage. I'm not maybe whatever acting in the way, or taking the position that's needed for to have like an to have that expected response, or to have that type of interaction that I think is suitable, or that I desire.
Mm-hmm. What do they say? One who is to be obeyed must know how to command. Something to that effect. One who is to be obeyed must know how to command. And that also is, incidentally, built into our structured prayer format to organize your thoughts around your prayers so that you're able to command, right? Because you're talking to your Ori, different from how you're talking to Egungun, different from how you're talking to Ashun, different to how you're talking to Oromila, right? The conversation is different. Some of them, you can't be sitting down talking to this one. You better stand up. So that's I think that's a universal lesson for us, honestly. Babi Fadara.
I had to find that mic. Um, I can see myself as the role of a Rumila and a capo in the temple. Um, in the Shrine Squad, I see myself in the position of a Rumila, and then as a student in the school, rather, I see myself as a capo. It manifests as a capo as my refusal in many instances to follow directions. And then in the shrine committee, as the elder or Romila, um, in some areas, I'm lax. Yeah, I think that would be it. Would be lax or my not. I wouldn't say lax so much lax, but just not very organized. I'm in the process of learning how to organize myself and people.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Which is supreme, you know. Um, and I will say, just briefly, my theory on that. Um, you know how to organize people. It's a question of transferring the model that you know into the environment, the atmosphere that we're in here, right? So you know what I mean. Somehow, somebody who's an organizational person will be able to follow up with Baba. You know what I mean, with some, you know what I mean, the simple tools that go into um, organizing your your different kinds of a team. You know, different kinds of structures that teams could be, and what the communications would be between them, if it flows like this or it flows like that, and you know, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I think that's really on that level. I appreciate you saying that, you know, so clearly, because that's something that we can definitely work on during our weekly conversations. We can lay that out and make it flow. I just would want to tap somebody whose profession that is, so that we can kind of streamline with some little tools.
Odupe.
Koto Pearl. Shayi.
Oh, that was me raising my hand to help Uncle Baba.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Well,
If he wants it, I don't coach without consent, so that's
Please do.
okay. I'm about to say that's definitely my Akapo Orumila.
hmm,
Um, to that point, I think there's the ambitious side. So like I'm definitely gonna be working real diligently with that part about the ambition, because I can absolutely see how the pursuit of a goal, especially if you're a goal oriented person, like it's easy to slip into that space of the end justifying the means. Um, and that's where like the higher frequency of the inner Arumi La, and like, keeping your ori where it needs to be so that your feet don't deviate,
hmm,
because it's the remembrance of, yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a target, while also understanding that the way that you get there does matter.
hmm,
Which when you compare that to the way that the world looks, from a mass media perspective, you see underhanded people perceptibly winning, quote unquote, right? They're getting the spoils. And so it's easy to feel like a sucker for going about things in a certain way, especially if you're sticking to principles, because those principles can feel like hindrances. Um, but in the words of Ving Rhames, we'll see where you at in 5 years, Jody. Sound real good on the phone.
hmm,
It sound real good on the phone.
hmm.
But this square stuff does add up.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, with all that being said, Baba, yeah, we'll get each other in the Okun Ring group, and we'll see what you're cooking on. All right.
that is my
Bad.
Eshil. Thank you to the two of you for kind of closing the loop. You made me just rely. Excuse me. You made me just recall the verse, the featured verse. Can somebody pull up the featured verse? Raise your hand when you get it. The actual essay in the summary. Okay. Oribami Shay. Huh. Tell us.
What am I telling you about?
Would you read
Wait,
the
let
verse
me
for
begin.
us?
Sure, yeah.
Oh wait, but you got a bizarre echo. You coming straight from the heavenly realm. You sitting there with the Odu. Oh my goodness. Oh, Oribami Shay. How?
Oh, say Bile. Is that better, Baba?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's see. This should I read the advisory and everything and then go in or just read the
Just the verse.
oh, hold on, Baba. Wait a minute. Actually, I don't know if this is the verse because it's looking mighty different. I'll just start it. The hands of the children cannot reach the altar.
That's the one.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the hands of the children cannot reach the altar, while those of the elders cannot enter the bottle of the calabash. The errands that children sins, the elders let them refuse not. For their assignments are there are assignments which fathers ought not to carry out for their children. These were Ifa's messages to Arumala when his disciple dragged him to the court of Olodumare. Arumala defended that he tried all he could, but Akapo's destiny could not respond. That each time he took Akapo's Ebo to Iwarun, it was another person's image that appeared and received the blessing. Olodumare then decreed that human beings should never judge based on one side only. Those who do this are irresponsible. Those who do this are unworthy of being leaders. When you have not listened to the other side, why did you pronounce judgment? Shay.
Mm-hmm. IworiMeji. Now, the owl who cast Ifa, the children can't reach the top shelf to get to where the Orisha is stored. But the elders can't fit their hands inside the jar where the akoshe is. So accessing certain kinds of spiritual, right? The children can't reach Orisha. They're too small. Their arms are too short. But the akoshe, the thing that magnifies and amplifies and accelerates, the elders they can't fit their hand inside that jar. They can't move, right? They're not as Egbe like, you know. So therefore, there are things that what the elders ask the children to do, the children should do it. And likewise, what the children ask the elders to do, they should also comply. The the building of the bridges, that where we say it takes a village to raise children, but it takes the conscientious and deliberate efforts of elders to create that village. But then it also requires that the elders and the mentors collaborate to support the children. generally speaking, in terms of age groups or skill sets and stuff like that. We, the elders, assume responsibility for the the mentors to function, to perform. This is in an ideal, pristine setting, right? Textbook. But this is how you set the stage for stability, for harmony, for peace, for steady progress, right? This is part of what we're here intending to do. If we pan out a little bit more to Irosun Iwori, which tells us that we're here to help bring about the good condition. And that defines us as Enya. But one of the most pivotal lessons, I think, of this verse takes us all the way to the final realization, which is Olodumare. What is Olodumare's role in this? What is Olodumare's role in all of this? If everything we said about the elders, mentors, and children is true, if everything we said about Orumila and Akapo and the right relationship between them, then what are we to make of Olodumare? What is Olodumare's role in this? Do y'all understand what I'm saying here? Jegbe, at Kaleo.
I hope my answer isn't too far out there. But when I think about Olodumare, I think about kind of a continuity that's larger than, our single lifetime. And the fact that Orumila was once in the same place that Akapo, we can assume Akapo is, a young apprentice with no money trying to make it, you know, and maybe persuaded to cut corners. You know what I mean? That these are lessons that every apprentice learns on the way to be a master. You know what I mean? That Akapo will one day later look at, perhaps his apprentice. And Olodumare is, sort of the grand design of all of that. You know what I mean? Not just the fact that it happens in perpetuity, but the reason that it happens. You know what I mean? The wisdom that's preserved, um, over the course of taking that journey. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Well, the wisdom that is preserved is an interesting question. I know, and I wanna write it down somewhere. Let's put a pin in the wisdom that's preserved. We could talk about what that means. But let's give some other folks an opportunity to weigh in here. Um, I'm going to skip to Ereshina because I haven't heard from him today, and then we'll come back to the proper order, which is Fa Kore de Oribamishe, and then Awolowo.
Boru Aboye Aboshishe Baba.
Boy, how are you this evening?
I am doing well. I'm looking at the pictures, all the photos from this past weekend, and I felt like I was there. Some of those should be like for album covers, some rap videos, and it was just bright. It was very brilliant energy. You know what I'm saying? And I just get these flashes of just the different photographs, and they just really serve as reminders, even when I'm out and about during the day, doing my thing. But
Hey, shout out
other
to everyone who submitted all those photos. Obviously,
yes,
I didn't take those photos, so everyone who loaded your photos into the chat and sent them here and sent them there, thank you so much for sharing. You know what I mean? Sharing your eyes, being the eyes for the community like that is super rich.
yes,
I'm sorry. Please continue.
yeah. Some of the some words that came to mind were the Olodumare is the great mediator.
Mm,
Um, Olodumare is also like the teacher of teachers. Um, but the one thing that I noticed in the story is, when we think of the omniscient, the all-knowing, you would think that the one who is all-knowing doesn't need to ask questions. And here it is, Olodumare is asking as if Olodumare doesn't know. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? And so, you know, obviously, if Olodumare, if we were to say is the all knowing, which would be like the answer, wherever there's an answer, there's a question. So not only is Olodumare the all knowing, but it's also the ever questioning.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? So it always leaves room for deeper and deeper levels of awareness. The awareness for Olodumare is always is, which means that the principle or the this thing that we call the questioning or the quest is also always at play. And so you see, and so for me, it's um the first one to the chief of like the one who the great demonstrator of humility. You know what I'm saying? That's what comes to mind for me. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? Because Olodumare took the time to actually ask questions, you know, and you actually find this even in the Bible where, Adam and Eve, they're being asked questions. Like, where y'all, where y'all in the garden? Like, what are y'all doing? Where y'all at? You know
mm.
what I'm saying? You would think automatically, well,
You would know.
you God, you know everything, but then where's the plot in that? Like, you, you understand? Where's the plot
Spoken
in that?
like a true son of Egbe.
Exactly, exactly. This is why they don't let black people in the horror movies like that because we already know the deal. By the time you shoot 3 minutes in, as soon as we hear the noise, we out.
I gotta go.
Credits, it's over.
Mhm.
So the experience of you know learning and humility, which does come from listening, being circumspect,
Mhm.
complete, and that is Olodumare is complete. So that includes not just having all the answers, but also having all the questions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Olodumare is the owner of all the answers and the owner of all the questions.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is because it's the grand encompassing of every experience, and all experiences are a series of questions and answers. So why would Olodumare not participate in that if Olodumare is the source of that?
Hmm. Which makes sense when we think about the way the name Olodumare, is describing a dynamic thing, a dynamic flow. It's not just name rock. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
describing the nature of the natures of Olodumare because there's going to be multiple ways to even interpret it. Okay, so we have Olodumare. We went all the way into Deep Space Nine here. Um, we have some time. Thank you, Brother Ereshina, for taking us into the clouds. And I don't think we're ready to come down quite yet. Brother Fakore Dave, tell us how do you see Olodumare in all this.
All right, so yeah, this ties back into my first my answer about a capo and a rumula, man, because Olodumare was made himself available to Orisha and a capo alike, and so when a capo went to Olodumare for to complain about his teacher, Olodumare accepted him in his kingdom and heard his argument. And then he said, okay, let me call Orumula and see what he got going on. Let me hear his side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so he listened to Orumula's side of the story. Orumula gave him his side of things, and then just, you know, continuing what Brother Erosina said, like Olodumare pretty much already knew both answers, but he just wanted to see what they was gonna say. Uh, and this just make me think about when he got the answers, and then he made his judgment, and then he went a step further and said, "This the last time anybody gonna be able to come and complain to me personally. Like anything you got, you gonna go through a rumula, because obviously this ain't the first time somebody done complained about a rumula. It seemed like, I mean, come on, man. I'm tired of this. Everybody trying my boy. I done sent him down there. He do finna cut this out, so I'm done, man. Y'all, if y'all got a complaint about him, it don't matter. You gonna still have to go through him.
Right.
I'm done, man. So it's like it was just one time too many. Like, that's it, man. Y'all keep coming up here bothering me about this, man. He doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
Stop it. So Olodumare is the great elder that listened to both sides of the story. He ain't just, hear one side and just immediately cast judgment on the other side. He made sure he heard both parties, and then he made his judgment based on the facts and what he already knew. He knew when he sent Orumila. He knew who Orumila was when he sent him into the world to do that work. And Orumila was faithfully doing his work. And people wasn't doing what they was supposed to be doing, and trying to shortcut and play the system, and they just end up getting found out every time. So Olodumare was like, "That's it, and we done with this, man."
That is interestingly that's very reminiscent of the previous IworiMeji featured verse of the hyena and the goat and the leopard. That was also very similar, but we're not gonna go down that road. We're running out of time here. Oribamise.
Baba, I think that Olodumare is showing up as the ultimate judge and the one who restored balance in this situation, and I feel like that in as much as, when Inyan is showing confusion and, they're we're acting biased or acting on incomplete, well, in this case, acting on incomplete information, he he steps in as the judge, to call the parties forward. Hey, okay, both y'all, everybody coming to court. He gets down to the place where the revealed, he gets to the place where the truth is revealed, through his inquiries. And he is the one who dispenses justice, if you will. He corrects the situation by setting the divine law or the divine policy. So this doesn't happen again. Right? So it's like, all right, no more making judgments without hearing both sides or having all of the information. And you don't send nobody, on an errand, and though I think that was what I think was that one of the declarations. The elders must use their own sacrificial items and whatnot. So I think that, he is the one he's the exposer. His authority exposes the deception of Akapo, and it also protects the integrity of Orunmila as well. And I think in that's where the balance came in. He was able to realign truth and essentially both of their destinies. Yeah.
Mm, mm. Magnificent. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. Um, Olodumare, the giver of divine law, reminds me of the 7 days of the week. Each time, based on what the Iromale experienced in the Garden of Command, he said, okay, based on what you guys did, this is what the day is. Awolowo, good evening.
Good evening. I see Olodumare as being the order that is imbued within the universe here, and as that order becomes the prototype for how things shape out, how things evolve in life. So Olodumare, he models for us how to mediate a situation. How an elder is supposed to act, and then that order that is imbued in the universe also prevents Enneon from just being able to go back and forth with these frivolous conversations. It's like that's too much power for you. we're gonna have to tone it down for you to have less access.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In that way, it's like Olodumare is setting the parameters for the systems, like the policies, and the systems. I'm becoming an administrator. Help me. Become an administrator. Okay. Our good sister, Adara Mola, good evening. And Kaleo
Ekale baba eko don aboru aboyabo shishe.
Oto.
Baba, balance and order, and it leads me into a couple of questions. In our cosmology, do we share the view of Christians that sin is the transgression that causes separation from God? As I was looking at this story, sin, i.e., Akapo's judgment going to Olodumare to persecute Oromila. Then Olodumare is like, nope, humans can't come to me anymore, i.e., separation. And if that is the case, are we also, like Christians, seeking to reconcile with Olodumare? Because Papa Awolowo said one day that we don't sacrifice for Olodumare, we sacrifice for our Ori to align with our destiny. And so as I was going through this, those were just a couple of questions that came up from the study guide.
Okay. Yeah, those are important questions. Tell me what prompted the first question.
Because we no longer have access to heaven or cannot, excuse me, access to Olodumare directly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that part of the story, I was wondering, was that as a result of the judgment that Akapo was trying to pass upon Orumila that caused Olodumare to be like, no, you all can't come to me directly anymore.
Mm-hmm. And so if the if it is judgment and it's the fall of mankind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then what would that mean? We're 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 kind of condemned. you know that is okay. Yes, but the distinction is the system itself, because you know my understanding of the Christian thing is kind of a one shot deal. They don't have the rebirth program. If you didn't get it right in these however many years you got, and you're on the downward spiral, that's just it for you. You know, that's the way I understand how their system works. Our system don't work like that. Where it's like, really, our system is the reason why, I call it the Agbole, because the basic atmosphere or context for the system is an extended family, right? And you're constantly being born and reborn in this extended family, And so it's like, remember that movie? What was that movie with the about the Dalai Lama, where the child, they take him out there, way out wherever, in, you know what I mean, in the depths of the temple, and then he's got to identify some toys. You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't see it.
Okay, it's something. It's not. Anyway, that's how they pick the Dalai Lama. There's like a baby who shows these signs, and they think, okay, this one is the Dalai Lama, that one's the Dalai Lama. And so, if this child can identify his belongings, then they'll acknowledge him as the Dalai Lama. Right? Our system kind of assumes that everybody is the Dalai Lama in that regard. You know what I mean? You're staging it so that you can come back to it and be reborn into it. Your farm, your market, your bank, your homes, your fields, your cattle, your sheep, your children, your spouses, your brothers, your sisters, your friends. What they were saying about Olodumare in that cyclical, you know, that's the rebirth. So even though we can see that there's a way that Ifa will tell us, no, that's how that is going to result in you being broken from Olodumare. You could be divided from your own Ori. Your own Ori could be fighting against you, but it's just not terminal. That's what's happening in this cycle. And there might be a 4-day cycle. It might be a 3-moon cycle. It might be a, you know.
Mondupe Baba. Yeah, that's just what I was picking up. I know it may like be off the beaten path, but it just was something that kind of stood out to me of the separation between us and Olodumare, how we don't get to go to him anymore as an intermediary. And I just was like, oh, was that because of the actions of Akapo trying to go there for the purposes of persecution?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, there's another verse where Oromila does the same thing of IworiMeji. There's another verse of IworiMeji. The reason why we have a Hand of Ifa is because Oromila was celebrating his annual festival. Now, Oromila had no children. One by one, Oromila is blessed and he ends up with a child. He ends up with 8 children. He names each one of these children according to the condition that he was living when the child was born. All 8 of these children became kings. After this is the case, Oromila is celebrating his festival. And one by one, when Oromila's sons see him, they, they show deference. And they say, Aboro Aboye Baba. All the way down to Oromila's last son, the 8th son. And this son is proud. He's arrogant. He doesn't kneel before his father. He doesn't remove his crown. His brothers chastise him. They say, Olowo, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he says, well, what do you mean what I'm doing? They said, you didn't greet Baba properly. He says, since when does one beaded crown kneel for another beaded crown? Oromila has a brass staff, and I have a brass staff. Romila has beaded shoes, and I have beaded shoes. And so basically, it's hubris. You know, he's gotten carried away. And Oromila leaves the party and walks into a palm tree, Ope, which is in front of his house. And through that palm tree, he returns to heaven. The party rages on for days. Nobody even realizes that Oromila's gone. Finally, things stop happening. you know, Ordinary phenomena started to be derailed. They realized we need to consult Ifa. But where's Oromila? We haven't seen Oromila for weeks, for months. They summon Oromila. They summon Oromila. They summon Oromila. Finally, Oromila said, all right, I hear you calling me, but I'm not coming back. Go out into the palm tree in front of the house and extend your hands. And 16 Ekin fell into their hands. Oromila said, you take these, and this is what you do with them. And whenever you have a question for me, you use these to mark the Oju, and I'll tell you the answer to your question. So similarly, it's a variation in a way. It creates degrees of separation. It creates degrees of separation, and that is also something interesting to consider psychologically. What does it mean for us to separate from, and these are masculine figures in this instance. Olodumare, Oromila, Akapo, So, like, what does it mean for these degrees of separation to take place? Psychologically.
Okay, so my understanding from a Christian paradigm is the separation from God leads to man acting out of order or disorderly. But it doesn't seem as if in our system that separation causes a lack of order because we still have the ability to access Olodumare. We just use a medium, Orumila.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess by the separation that we experience also isn't terminal in the sense it doesn't disconnect us from that vital life force energy. We still have access, we just don't have it directly. So it, in contrast to the Christians, like it seems like in their system it's more fatalistic. And when it happens, your next time to get it right may be in the next lifetime, I guess. I don't know, but for us, it just doesn't seem like that separation causes disorder in our universe, in our cosmology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that assessment.
Okay. Because in the story, the order was established. You can't come to me directly, and you cannot judge without hearing both sides. So balance and order was still maintained, even though the system now is intermediary based.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These parameters are going to allow y'all to, once our drum instructor Fundi, he would teach us rhythms like, it sounds like this. Ba-da, ba-da, ba, ba-da, ba, ba-da, ba, boom, ba-da. And the only rule is you can't play the same, you can't play double on any hand. You know, that's the only rule. And sure enough, you would figure it out. You know, there's a logic that when you put it in those parameters and you make those sounds and you say, you know, it can't be like this. And there will be other parameters, but surely you will figure it out. Just like you have like jigsaws that you figure out with your hands and stuff like that. Those little mind Rubik's cube type stuff. So anyway, we're going
Love
really
your question.
far into deep space. Um, let's hear what our brother Shay has to say because I got the feeling that he has a spaceship.
You funny. Well, no. So I actually wanted to preface this one with the with a question,
Okay.
and that is like, and it was led in. Thank you so much, sis Adaramola, with the leaning in a direction of we're still connected to divine source. But I think we hear words like separation, um, again using I statements, right? There is the understanding that is based on connotation, and then there's like the textbook Webster's dictionary definition of a word. And so words like separation have, um, for me, sort of a negative context. But then also thinking of this, like, getting to see for me, the freedom that is shown in the separation, because it's like the shot clock when they invented that in basketball.
Hmm.
Like at first, you could just hold the ball for 45 seconds
Hmm.
and just pass it back and forth, right?
Hmm.
Like watching a boring soccer match.
Hmm.
Well, now you have parameters. You got what, like 24 seconds, something like that, and you got to make something happen.
Hmm.
And so now with this, like, what? This is the question. Um, where does that level of responsibility fall with us as Enion to do something within those parameters?
And in terms of,
This the separation, right? Because now, like, you don't. There's no real crux to lean on. You know, it's not like an Abrahamic tradition where there's, there is a standard structure of you have divine creator, then you have prophet emissary person, whether that person is Jesus or Muhammad, right? We're in the US, so it's easy for people to grasp like Christianity versus Islam. But like with that, where's the real responsibility piece for us as Anion? Because there is a very real separation, and we're not necessarily being condemned. But like you said, like Arumila's not coming back. It's on you to go to the tree. What does that look like? Like there's a proper way for us to show up.
yeah. And you know what? I'm glad you said that because here is a big part of it. This is Irosum Iwori. Let us do things with joy. Those who want to go, let them go. Those who want to stay, let them stay. Surely humans have been chosen to bring good into the world. The all-knowing one, priest of Oromila, cast Ifa for Oromila. Ifa said the people of the world would come to ask him a certain question. He said that Oromila should sacrifice. Oromila heard and sacrificed. This is on page 23 of the fundamentals. Do you have this book? Nope. We're going to get that Irosum Iwori plastered on our walls because in that verse we get some really clear parameters for what it is that we should be doing, what kind of practices, habits, what kinds of motivations, what kind of benchmarks that we're looking for to measure our success. It's expressed in that Odu. And I'm referring us that way because we've reached 10 o'clock and I don't want to take advantage of people's time. But I do want to say, Ekuo Duo, I greet you all for the new year. I give thanks that Ifa has blessed us with profound wisdom and people who are interested in experiencing and sharing that wisdom with one another for the purpose of helping to bring about the good condition. Ashe. And I pray that IworiMeji will surely command our attention, that will give us something that will catch our eye, that we will constantly be, looking and focusing on Ifa, which is what the recipe also calls for. Going back to that idea of, Ogbeyonu had us given the Ati and Omi every day, getting us ready to just run to Ifa, run to Ifa, run to Ifa, run to Ifa, run to Ifa. Let that be your habit. Let that be your habit. Just not too many questions, right? Of course, you got to listen for the answers. The one who hears, the ear that hears the question must also hear the answer. So, there's timing the questions and really listening for meaningful answers. That's going to help as well. And of course, all of this ties into your goal setting. All the things we've been doing over the last month have set the stage for what Ifa has set for us. And when you look over the verses and the observances and the symbols, be looking for the directives as they pertain to your goals. Even if you have forgotten exactly what the goals were, go back and reread them. But Ifa is speaking to us. Akapo, I agree with the assessment that we had given. Akapo, how did Akapo not know? But, Oromila, how could Akapo not know? Come on now. So we're at the beginning of the story. We have the opportunity to look into the future and say how we want it to be. By this time next year, we will all have transcended the limitations that made Akapo cut corners. Ashe. By this time next year, our corners gonna be sharp and pointy. Ashe, ashe, ashe. We're gonna be square heads, just chaka, chaka. That's what we're gonna do. Get it done by the book. And likewise, in this season, we're gonna make sure that the one behind us, hey, you did hear me say is 1, 2, 3, and 3 and 4, right? You heard me say that. Let me see what. Show me 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? Okay, that's what I want to see. It's totally okay for us to give one another direction and for us to take direction from one another. We do it well, but it just also needs to be said as well. It's really important to take the direction, to give and take direction. So your goals can come to life. They will come to life to the degree that you participate actively. It's like Ifa has spoken. We just gonna have a good time playing it out. The last thing I want to say to you is that in the next 2 months, we're going to spend December basically on break. And the break is going to be, lounge time. If you can imagine, like when school is out, but you can still get, the dorms ain't closed, and the student union is open, the student store is open. It's just like, there's no classes, right? So feel free to make use of our regularly scheduled times to convene, to share, exchange information, ask questions, give answers. And then from December to January, then I'm going to be both in Nigeria as well as Benin. And so, if by chance people have specific questions about Benin, anything pertaining to the culture there, let me know so that I can be sure to ask, because part of what I'm doing is deliberate. I'm going to learn things, so I'd be really happy to ask questions. And so, with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to IworiMeji, or ask IworiMeji if you have a we didn't really discuss the button in the bow of this.
Got a feedback form, Baba.
Magnifico. Okay, is it in the chat?
It is now in the chat.
Wow.
Thank you all for your presence and participation as always. The feedback form is in the chat, and now we are going to have announcements. So today is our reset, right? So I pray that being in prayer and in chant session was part of some of the goals that you set as we grow together. Tomorrow is the day of mystery. We make say tomorrow. So please join us for prayer. Okuring 5 a.m. and Obering 6:30 a.m. We are having chant session tomorrow at 8 p.m. All of this is in Eastern Standard Time. And so we are resetting our, the golden oldies. Like everything is new. We have a clean slate starting today. So let's just make sure that we show up. Make sure that you do your opening of the stomach this week. And as Aloya has already said, next month we are going to be, officially out of class, but you'll have access to some of SOS greatest hits. Some of the classic playbacks are coming down the line for you, especially if you have joined in the last 2 years. It's going to be really great to kind of see what we were doing, a few years ago. That's going to be good. So take your time to do that as well. Those are all of the announcements I have. I mentioned earlier, if you came in later, that if you attended or don't find that surveys for that went out, and if you could get those completed by the 30th, we would really appreciate it. So those are all of our announcements for this evening, and hope to see everyone in prayer in the morning. Odaro.
Otaro.
Odaro.
Oh,
Odaro.
Otaro.
Adoro.
Otaro.
Odaro.
Adoro.